get ready to rumble!
Yeah, hi. I was just calling to let you know that I'm going to be a little bit late with that bill payment. See, what happened was I thought I had some good picks going in the weekend. Double doink Cody Parkey just blew an extra point at the end. I thought the Rams were a fraud, but it was really the Bears who were a fraud. I mean, they're both frauds. I mean, Pitt does have a really good run defense. They just can't turn the ball over a million times to a team like Notre Dame. I mean, the payment's coming, all right? What up, y'all? Welcome to another edition of Throwdown Thursday. I got absolutely drilled last weekend, but there's always another weekend. Let's go ahead and recap the NFL and get into it. So on Thursday night, the Eagles edge out the Giants because Daniel Jones can't stay on his feet. So when I was getting crushed last weekend on my picks, I just continue to watch that video and feel better about myself. Even though the Giants did blow it, they got the cover, so we're going to go bump them up a half point. The Eagles should have lost, so yeah, definitely knocking them down their half point they deserve. Lions edge out the Falcons in a thriller. That game was basically a push, so we're just going to keep their power ratings as is. Browns go down early to the Bengals and then have a crazy fourth quarter with 5 different touchdowns. And of course, double doink blows the cover for me at the end. And how about our boy Joe Burrow? 406 yards, 3 touchdown passes. And he didn't get murdered by Myles Garrett during the game. This game was pretty much a push, so we're just going to leave them as is as well. Steelers take down the Titans to emerge as the only undefeated team left in the league. So this game was basically a pick-em, but since the Titans lost, we're going to knock them down a half point. With the Steelers being the only undefeated team left and looking very, very good while doing it, I am going to go ahead and bump them up with the Ravens as one of the top 3 teams in the league. I don't know who's better out of these teams at the top, but I got to give the Steelers credit for what they've been doing so far. Saints edge out the Panthers. They took control of the game early, but the Panthers kept fighting to keep it close. The Panthers did get the cover, so we're going to knock them up a half point and knock the Saints down a half point. The Bills lay a turd, kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, only beating the Jets by 8. I mean, the Jets pretty much did what they always do, so we're just going to leave them at plus 11. They didn't look worse than they have in the past. Bills, on the other hand, did not get the cover, and while every other team in the league is blowing them out, we definitely got to drop them a half point. Washington absolutely smokes the Cowboys, who are now down another QB. Good thing they got the Red Rocket in the offseason to only play a couple of quarters. Skins get the half-point bump for getting the cover. The Cowboys might be the worst team in the league, so we're just going to put them down here with all the rest of the NFC East teams. Actually, screw that. They don't even have a quarterback anymore. They're at least a plus 8. Packers bounce back, absolutely handling the Texans. We're going to knock the Packers back up a half point, and the Texans will just keep sliding. The Buccaneers take down the Raiders in the Battle of the Pirates. The Bucs, when healthy, look like a contender. So we'll knock the Bucs up to 6, and the Raiders are still sliding. Chiefs finally get that dominant win that they've been looking for, absolutely blowing out the Broncos. Chiefs are already at the top here, so I'm not going to add any more points to them. Definitely going to go ahead and drop the Broncos down a half point. The 49ers absolutely beat up the Patriots. The 49ers are like a crazy ex-girlfriend. You literally do not know who's going to show up every day. I really don't know what to do with this 49ers team. I'm going to go ahead and just bump them up a point instead of a half point because they have looked really good in their last 2 games, even though they looked poor in the 2 games before that. I think it just was more of an injury thing before. They're looking more and more like the team they were last year. However, they do not have the same talent from last year. They have injuries, obviously, to people like Bosa. And the Pats, they're 2-3 right now. They've looked bad in their last 2 games. There's no way I can leave them above the Niners after that. I still think the Pats are going to be a solid team moving forward. Obviously, I got some things to work out, but I can't make them that powerful of a team in the rankings right now. They just haven't earned it. Chargers finally get another win. They've been playing competitive in all these games, but nothing like the Jags to be a slump buster for you. Chargers go back up to even, and the Jags keep sliding. How about them Arizona Cardinals showing some guts and getting the win over a dangerous Seahawks team? That was a really good win by the Cards. I'm going to go ahead and knock them up a full point. Maybe they deserve to be a little bit higher. I still don't think they're that strong of a team, and they're still not as explosive on offense, despite the star power that they have. And yeah, Seahawks get upset. So we got to knock them down a full point. And in the game of who is the bigger fraud, I picked the wrong side as the Rams absolutely controlled the Bears. Bears getting knocked down a half point. Rams going up a half point. All right, so here are the updated power rankings. Go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments. Do I got any teams that are overrated? Do I got any teams that are underrated? Here's what my picks look like from last week. I went 1-4. Now I'm below 500 again, so I got to make these picks count this week. At least the Packers came out and looked good for me. I felt really good about that game. The Bills are really good at kicking field goals, while the Browns, on the other hand, apparently suck at it. The Bears are the fraud that I knew they were. They've been cashed for me. They finally burned me. It is what it is. And I took the Saints at the last minute. That line started so high and then it kept dropping. They looked like they were going to come out and control that game, but the Panthers kept fighting back. That was definitely a game I should have stayed off. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the lines for this week. The Panthers host the Falcons on the Thursday night game. Falcons have a pretty average scoring offense, but their yards per play is pretty low, while Carolina's flipped. They don't really have a great total score, but they're 7th in yards per play. They just got to start being able to punch it in the end zone. Defensively, the Falcons have a pretty solid rush defense, but they have one of the worst passing defenses in the league, and they are dead last in yards per play. Carolina, on the other hand, is pretty much just a decent defense. Definitely not the defense that they used to be in the past. Looks like the Falcons are missing a couple of defensive linemen due to the cooties. Panthers are missing Okung, their tackle. So at the Falcons at plus 4.5, plus a half point for their injuries, and the Panthers plus 1.5, plus 1 for their injuries, but minus 1 for being at home. My spread on the game is Panthers by 3.5. Vegas opened this line at minus 2.5, and now it's down to 2 for the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers getting under a field goal is pretty tempting, especially since they're getting such a high yards per play, and the Falcons' pass defense is doo-doo. I'm definitely going to look into the Panthers. This is like one of those average teams I've been waiting for that maybe people are underestimating a little bit. Next up, we have an absolute banger for the weekend with the Ravens hosting the Steelers. Both teams have two of the best scoring offenses in the league. They both have a pretty low yards per play, but I think that's mostly because they have good rushing offenses and they don't look to pass as much. And then on defense, both these defenses are nasty. The Ravens are number 1 in scoring defense. The Steelers are 2nd in time on the field and 3 in yards per play. Steelers have a few questionables. Ingram is questionable for the Ravens along with Wolf. So I got the Steelers at minus 9 and the Ravens at minus 9. Both teams don't really have any major injuries going into it, so it's kind of a wash, so I didn't factor that in. And then I just give it the Ravens a minus 1 for being at home. So my spread on this game is Ravens by 1. Vegas opened this up with Ravens minus 5.5. And they dropped it down to anywhere from 3.5 to 4, depending on which book you're looking at. What am I missing on this one? All right, let's see who people are betting on. All right, I like going to this website, Scores and Odds. Gives you an idea of which teams the public is betting on. All right, it looks like about 75% of the money is coming in on the Steelers, and that will probably only climb as the week goes on. Typically, when about 80% of the public is on one team, it's usually the other team that's going to come out with the cover. All right, so looking at these teams' strength of schedule, it looks like the Steelers have had one of the easiest schedules in the league so far, while Baltimore's kind of had an average schedule. And even though the Steelers just beat the Titans, who were undefeated, the Titans have had even an easier schedule than them. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to figure out why this line isn't a pick'em. I mean, both these teams are really good. The Steelers are undefeated. I guess the Steelers just really haven't been tested. So much as I think the Steelers are a really good team, this line seems off in a weird way. Somebody knows something I don't know. The degenerate in me wants to go ahead and take these points with the Steelers, but this one just seems weird. I'm staying off this one, and I'm just going to enjoy the game. It's going to be great. Next up, we got the Packers hosting the Vikings. The Packers have the second best scoring offense in the league. They're 4th in yards per play. They're 3rd in time of possession. The Vikings have a really good yards per play, but aren't really doing that great in anything else. Dalvin Cook's back, so that'll help, but Defensively, both teams aren't that great. The Packers are below average, and the Vikings are just bad. Dalvin Cook's probable, and Ngakoue's probable. They got a corner who's doubtful. They got a couple other corners questionable. Packers have a bunch of people that are questionable, but nothing too major that's new. I got the Vikes at +2, -1 for coming off a bye, +1 for their injuries. I got the Pack at -8.5, plus a half for their injuries, but -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is -11. Vegas opened up this game at -6. It's now to a full touchdown. So the Packers and the Vikings already played each other this year, and the Packers won by 9. Even though my power rankings are telling me to take this game, the Vikings continue to just come back and get garbage yards at the end of the game, and with laying a touchdown, I just can't go that high. If this game slides to under a touchdown, I'll try to take it. You know, the Packs defense really hasn't been as great lately, even though they've been kicking butt on offense. With the Vikings coming off a bye and being in the division, laying a touchdown right now just seems tough. Probably going to pass on this one. Next, we have the Chiefs hosting the Jets in probably the most lopsided line that you're going to see all year. I'm not going to spend any time analyzing this game. We already know exactly what these teams are. The Chiefs are probably the best team. The Jets are definitely the worst team. As much as I want to bet against the Jets, a 20-point spread in the NFL is absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs got out to a big lead at first and then just put it on cruise control for the rest of the game, letting some garbage touchdowns up. I'm not taking the Chiefs, and I'm definitely not taking the Jets. Staying off this one. Next up, we got the Lions hosting the Colts. Both teams are really average on offense. Defense is another story. Colts have one of the best defenses in the league. The Lions are definitely below average, although they do have a good pass defense, and their time on the field is #1 in the league, so that's pretty interesting. Colts have a couple of people questionable and on the IR. Lions have a couple people questionable on the IR as well, so that's pretty much a wash. So I got the Colts at -4 and then -1 for coming off the bye. I got the Lions at +4.5, -1 for being at home. My spread on this game are the Colts by 8.5. Vegas opened up this game with Lions +3, and then it's even +2.5 at some places now. So I think the Colts are kind of an overlooked team. They have the worst strength of schedule in the league right now. They have Phillip Rivers, who's their quarterback, who just donates gifts to defenses like it's Christmas all year round. But they do have a really good defense, and this is the kind of team that when they get up early, they can control the ball and put the game away. I've already been burned once by Rivers this year, though, for throwing picks. So if I can get this game at under 3, I'm probably going to take the Colts, especially with them coming off a bye. And the Lions, I know they look good against the Falcons team, but so does everybody. Also, the Lions only put up 23 points against the Falcons, who have one of the worst defenses in the league. So I might still take this game if it's 3 during game time, but I'm going to go ahead and watch this line moving up to Sunday to see if I can get it at 2.5 somewhere. Next up, we got the Bengals hosting the Titans. Titans have had one of the best scoring offenses in the league, while Cincinnati has not, although they've definitely been passing the ball pretty well with Burrow. We'll just see if they can protect him. Defensively, the Bengals have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league, which is going to be a problem with a dude like Derrick Henry out there running around. Titans are looking pretty healthy, even though they did lose a tackle for the season. For the Bengals, Dunlap is doubtful. Hart, their tackle, is doubtful. They got a couple other guys on the IR. Ross is questionable. Mixon is questionable. So I got the Titans at -4.5, plus a half point for their injuries. And I got the Bengals at +5.5, +1.5 for their injuries, -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is -10. Vegas had this game open up with Titans by 4. Now it's moved up to 6. Yeah, I still like this Titans team. I mean, they definitely went toe-to-toe with the Steelers. I think people love betting on this Bengals team because Joe Burrow has been playing so well. But the rest of this team, other than their 2 wide receivers, A.J. Green and Higgins, the rest of this team is just really not that special. And with Cincinnati's poor run defense, what are they going to do to stop RoboCop running down the field on them? Taking road favorites is always tough, but I just think Tennessee is a lot better than this team. And as long as this line is under a touchdown, I'm cool with that. Next up, we got the Browns hosting the Raiders. Both teams have pretty decent scoring offenses. Both teams have pretty terrible defenses. Raiders have a couple of people questionable. And of course, with the Browns, Odell Beckham Jr. is out for the season with an ACL. All right, so I got the Raiders at 0, plus a half point for their injuries. I got the Browns at -2. OBJ is at least a 1.5, and they got some other guys that are questionable, and then -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is -1.5. This game opened up with the Browns as a 3-point favorite. Now it's down to 2.5 in most places. So in a situation like this, I'm very tempted to take the Browns because it's like that situation where you lose your biggest star player and then everybody else steps their game up because they know they're going to be held accountable. Also, with the Raiders coming across the country and playing in an earlier time slot, that has an effect on teams sometimes. It looks like about 80% of the bets are already coming in on the Raiders, and that'll probably only go up during game time because people love betting on the Raiders and hate betting on the Browns. Yeah, with this game being under a field goal, I know I got burnt by the Browns last week, but I think this is a really good spot for them. This is going to be a game time decision, but I'm leaning on the Browns again. If they don't do it for me this week, then they're on the shit list, but this is going to be game time decision. Next up, we got the Bills hosting the Patriots. New England has now slipped to being one of the worst offenses in the league. The Bills have kind of came back down to earth, being 20th in total scoring, although they are still 11th in yards per play. Defensively, both teams have been about average, although the Patriots are pretty low on their yards per play. Pats are missing a linebacker out for the season. They got a couple other guys questionable. Sony Michel's not in the lineup. Bills have a bunch of people questionable. Norman's still on the IR. So I got the Pats at -2, and I got the Bills at -5, and then -1 for being at home. I didn't factor in the injuries with this one. It seemed to be a similar injury report. So I got the Bills by 4 on this game. Vegas opened up this line at Bills -2.5. Now it's jumped to 3.5. Our numbers are pretty much the same on that one, so probably going to stay off this game. I don't know what the Pats are going to look like. I can't imagine they still look this bad. And the Bills, while they started off hot during the beginning of the season, the last couple weeks they seem to cool off. Still think they're a pretty good team, but let's kind of see how they play out. Next up, we got the Dolphins hosting the Rams. All right, offensively, the Rams haven't been that great of a scoring offense, but they have been moving the ball down the field. Miami has the 12th best scoring offense, but now they're moving to Tua, so we'll see how that works out for them. And on defense, these are actually two of the best scoring defenses in the league. The Rams actually have a pretty low yards per play. Miami does not, on the other hand, so that might just be fraudulent. Rams seem pretty healthy. They are missing a linebacker. The Dolphins have a couple players questionable. They're out a defensive tackle. So I got the Rams at -5.5. I got the Dolphins at +4, -1 for being at home, and -1 for coming off a bye. My spread on this game is Rams by 7.5. Vegas opened up this line at Rams -3.5, and it's pretty much stayed like that. Looks like the money is coming in 60-40 on the Rams, so nothing too major, and I'm sure more money will come in on the Rams as the week goes on. Yeah, I like the Rams in this one. I thought they might be fraudulent because all their wins were against poopy NFC East teams, but they definitely handled the Bears. They still haven't beat anybody that's great, but it's not like the Dolphins are great. I think the Dolphins had some momentum going into the bye, but now they're switching out QBs, and there's no way that Tua is going to play at the level that Fitzpatrick has been playing recently. On top of all of that, the Dolphins don't really have a lot of overall talent, and they don't have a great run defense, and the Rams have a great run scheme under Sean McVay. The Dolphins have a lot of things going for them in their favor coming off a bye, and the Rams having to travel across the country in the early time slot, but the Rams do have the best non-quarterback player in the league. Other than that shellacking they took against the Niners, they've seemed like an extremely solid team. I'm going with the Rams this week. Let's do it. Next up, I got the Broncos hosting the Chargers. Both teams aren't special on offense, with the Broncos being really bad. Defensively, both teams have been pretty average. The Chargers probably should have a better defense, but they've been having injuries. Chargers are missing Bulaga, Pouncey, Green, Harris, Eckler's on the IR, bunch of people. Broncos aren't doing much better. Obviously, Von Miller's probably out for the year. Bunch of other people questionable. Philip Lindsay got banged up last game. Fant is questionable. All right, so I got the Chargers at 0. I got the Broncos at +5, but -1 for being at home. Vegas opened this up with Chargers as a 1-point favorite. It's moved up to 3. Yeah, my numbers are pretty similar on this game. Probably going to stay off this one. I'm waiting for the Chargers to get them as a good underdog, but I'm not really going to lay points with them. Even though they're playing the Broncos, who can't score touchdowns, the Chargers really haven't been setting the world on fire either. I know Herbert's getting tons of hype, but they're still not a dangerous offense. Probably going to pass on this one. Next up, the Seahawks are hosting the 49ers. Seahawks have the best scoring offense in the league and the most explosive in yards per play. The Niners have been pretty average, but they are more of a run team. I wouldn't expect them to have a crazy explosive offense. Defensively, though, despite the Niners being banged up, they still have the 5th total scoring defense in the league. The Seahawks, on the other hand, just do not play defense at all anymore. This is definitely not the Legion of Boom. The Niners still have a bunch of people on the IR. Sherman, Ansah, Reed. Still missing Coleman. Still missing Mostert. Still missing Solomon Thomas. Bosa's out for the year. Deebo Samuel is out against Seattle. Iupati's questionable for the Seahawks. Irvin's still out. A couple other guys are questionable. Jamal Adams is questionable. Griffin's questionable. All right, so I got the 49ers at -2 and then +3 for all their injuries. I got the Seahawks at -6.5, +2 for their injuries, -1 for being at home, for +1 for being on a short week playing on Monday night. My spread on this game is Seahawks by 5.5. Vegas actually opened up this game at 5.5, and now it's been moved down to 3. I'm definitely staying off this game. It's unexplainable how well the Niners are playing right now with so many players that they have out. I mean, not only missing their running backs, but they're missing a bunch of D linemen too. Deebo Samuel's going to be out, which is like one of the few playmakers that they have left on offense. However, they are always solid on the interior. They've been mauling teams recently, like the Pats and the Rams, who the Rams are not soft up front. And Seattle, I don't know how much they're going to continue to be able to outscore teams. It seems like a team like the Niners is going to be able to control the ball and run it down their throat. Never doubt Russell Wilson. I'm staying off this game. I still want to watch this 49ers team and see what they got going on. If this game goes below a field goal, I will definitely look into taking the Seahawks, but if it stays at 3, I'm going to stay off. Next up, we got the Bears hosting the Saints. The Saints still have a solid offense, while the Bears are as offensive as a devout nun. Completely reversed on the other side of the ball. The Saints just keep giving up points to teams, while the Bears have been pretty stout. For the Saints, Emmanuel Sanders has the cooties, so he's out. They're missing a guard. They're still missing Montgomery. Thomas has been banged up. He's questionable. The Bears have a bunch of players that are questionable. Robinson, Max probable. All right, so I got the Saints at -6 +1 for their injuries. I got the Bears at -2.5 +0.5 for their injuries, -1 for being at home. My spread on the game is 4. This line opened up with the Saints as a 3-point favorite. Now it's moved to 4.5, 4, depending on what book you're looking at. Yeah, my numbers are pretty much the same on this one. This line definitely seems about right at about 4. I feel like it's going to be one of those games where the Saints pull out to a big lead and then the Bears just kind of inch their way back because the Saints just keep giving up points on teams. Although the Saints love playing on turf and they usually struggle at Soldier Field where the field's going to be all sloppy. Who knows what the weather's going to be like in Chicago? Let's look at that. Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be pretty dry on Sunday, so there goes the Bears' advantage. Probably just going to stay off this game. And for the Sunday night matchup, where I'm probably going to play video games instead of watching this stinker, we got the Eagles hosting the Cowboys. So I'm not even going to take time to analyze this game. Cowboys are down to their 3rd-string quarterback, and I'm not going to lay 9 points with the Eagles, who probably should have lost to the Giants if Daniel Jones had any balance. And the Monday night matchup with the Giants hosting the hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is now 3rd in scoring offense, even though they're kind of below average in yards per play, and the Giants have a bad offense. Defensively, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are number 8 in scoring and number 1 in yards per play. As good as this team is on offense, they might even be better on defense. Giants have a pretty average defense, 14 in total score. They're giving up a bunch of passing yards, which isn't good playing a team like the Bucs, and they're kind of average in yards per play. Tampa Bay is missing a running back who's kind of 3rd on the depth chart for them. Chris Godwin is out. Giants still have a lot of the same people on the IR. Obviously, Barkley's still out for the season. I got the Bucs at -6 +1.5 for their injuries. I got the Giants at +7.5, +0.5 point for their injuries, -1 for being at home. My spread on this game is 11.5. This game opened up at the Bucs by 9.5, and then it's moved to 11 or 10.5 in most places. As much as I want to take the Bucs right now, double-digit spreads tough, even against a crap team like the Giants, and they're on the road. My numbers pretty much match up with Vegas, so got to pass on this one. I'll definitely watch this game for at least the first half to see if Gronk can get an early touchdown and throw down his trademark spike. I mean, I definitely think this is going to be a blowout. I mean, especially on national TV. Like, it's not like Tom Brady's going to let his foot off the gas with everybody watching him. He's going to put it to the Giants for sure. But still, It's just too many points. All right, so here are the picks that I'm looking at for this week. Again, all chalk, just like the square that I am, which is probably why I'm below 500 right now. I'm probably going to whittle this list down to even 3 picks. I need to go back and look at some of these games. I'm staring at a bunch of average teams that are laying points right now. I think there's a couple I could probably back off of. All right, that's it for the NFL. Let's take a look at the college lines. So not only did I do terrible in the NFL last week, I did even worse in college football. The only team that covered for me are my boys, the Ohio State University, and they had the biggest spread that I picked on. Watching that Minnesota-Michigan game, Michigan is definitely a better team. South Carolina was not as good as LSU. Pitt had a good run defense, but had way too many turnovers and definitely outclassed by Notre Dame. Oklahoma State looked like they were going to get the cover, but just could not put it away and got the push for me. Baylor's just not going to hold up. Cincinnati worked SMU. So now I am 8-19-1 on the college football season. My suggestion to you is whoever I pick the opposite. Fade me. All right, we got Kentucky hosting Georgia. Looks like they're catching anywhere from 16 to 15.5 points. Georgia's been pretty solid on offense, nothing special. UK's almost below average offensive team. They throw for less than 200 yards a game, which is not good. Defensively, though, both teams give up about the same amount of points, although Georgia's run defense is stout. Meanwhile, UK's is a little bit below average. Georgia is coming off a bye. Kentucky just lost by 10 to Missouri, who they were a favorite against. Yeah, this game has Georgia winning in a blowout all over it, but Kentucky does have a good defense, so that number is kind of weird. They might be able to keep it close, especially if Georgia takes their foot off the gas near the end of the game. Probably going to pass on this one. All right, so we got West Virginia laying 3.5 points to Kansas State, which seems odd, but looking at it closer, Kansas State's starting quarterback is out. I'm tempted to take Kansas State because, I mean, even though their starting quarterback is out, the backup could be just as good or only a slight drop-off at least, but I don't know. I haven't really watched West Virginia this year. Looking at their record and the teams they play, they don't look that great. Probably going to stay off. Clemson's a 31-point favorite to Boston College. I'm half tempted to take Clemson, but I hate betting on these big spreads unless it's Ohio State. Michigan is a 23.5-point favorite over Michigan State. Actually, it opened up at that. Now it's moved to 24.5. Yeah, Michigan State just lost to Rutgers. I mean, holy moly, what happened to Michigan State's program now that Dan Antonio's gone? And Michigan looked good. I was watching that Michigan-Minnesota game really closely, and it was very clear that Michigan had a different level of athlete on the field than Minnesota. I'm half tempted to take Michigan in this, but this is such a big number. Michigan State is a rivalry game. Never forget the time Michigan blew the punt against Michigan State. Just don't know enough about these two teams yet. Probably going to stay off this one, although if you feel good about Michigan, I don't blame you. Cincinnati's laying 7 points against Memphis. I was wrong about Cincinnati. This team's good. They absolutely spanked SMU. This is a lot of points they're laying to Memphis in a conference game. And I think Memphis is pretty tough. Is Cincinnati really a touchdown better than this Memphis team? I don't know. I'm actually going to look at Memphis plus 7 in this one. I'll have to look at this game closer and see what's going on. I just think Cincinnati coming off a big win, it's going to be tough to replicate that, especially against a tough Memphis team who's been good for years. Conference game, yeah, I'm going to look closer at this one. I'm going to lean in towards Memphis. Auburn is hosting LSU, and LSU is laying 3 points. All right, Bo Nix already burned me this season. I have no problem betting against them. Auburn might have a better overall team than LSU, though, and they're at home. And there's actually fans in the stands down in SEC country, so I probably should take the home dog. I do not trust Bo Nix. I'm leaning on LSU, but probably need to stay off this game. TCU's on the road against Baylor, laying 2.5 points. Nothing really too special there. The total is only 50, and it seems like both teams might be able to score that much on each other because both teams have pretty bad run defenses, but I don't know. Big 12 football is not appealing to bet on to me. Notre Dame is laying 20 on the road against Georgia Tech. So on offense, Notre Dame has been looking pretty good. Georgia Tech's been decent. On defense, however, Notre Dame is stout and Georgia Tech cannot even stop anybody, giving up 40 points a game. They're giving up 200 yards on the ground per game. Notre Dame is going to smoke this team. I need to take this game now before it gets to 21 points. Iowa's hosting Northwestern, laying 3.5 points. I have no idea about either of these teams. However, the total is 48, and the under when Iowa and Northwestern are playing just always seems like the right thing to do. Probably going to pass, though. Nebraska's hosting Wisconsin. They're a 3-point dog. This is another game where you got to look at the total. 58. Oh, man. That's just probably because Nebraska's defense is terrible. Yeah, obviously I watched Nebraska last week. It seemed like they were pretty competent on offense, but defensively, they just couldn't stop Ohio State at all. 3 points does not seem like that much. I'm very tempted to take Wisconsin in this matchup. I think there's a really good chance they're going to blow them out. It's just I don't know anything about Wisconsin yet. I already got smoked last week for just being too loose with my bets. I probably need to stay off, but when Wisconsin boat races Nebraska, I'm going to be kicking myself and probably make dumb bets next weekend. Oklahoma State is laying 3.5 to Texas. So Oklahoma State really isn't that explosive on offense this year. Texas has been definitely scoring on people. Although defense is another story. Oklahoma State's pretty stout on defense, only giving up 12 points a game. Meanwhile, Texas is giving up over 30 a game. Their yards per play is under 5, so maybe they're getting a little bit better. I don't know. This one's tough. Probably going to stay off this one. 3.5 points probably seems about right for Oklahoma State. Alabama is laying 32 points to the Pirate. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, Bama's scoring almost 50 points a game. Mississippi State's only scoring 18.5. Jesus, come on, Pirate. Defensively, they're about the same, giving up about 26 a game. Yeah, I know I said last week that I was going to bet on Alabama for the rest of the season, but Jesus, 32 points in a conference game. I can't do that. I'm sure Alabama's going to win by 50, but who knows if the Pirate's going to pull some magic out of his butt. I got to pass on this one. Texas A&M's hosting Arkansas. The spread on this game is about 12 right now. Offensively, Texas A&M really isn't that explosive. Defensively, Arkansas is actually a little bit better. Yeah, I think Arkansas has been underrated so far this year, and I think the public hasn't caught up with it yet. They're just not a team that's going to get headlines or get a lot of time on SportsCenter or anything like that. Looking at the stats, they seem like pretty similar teams, and Arkansas is catching almost 12.5 points in some places. I'm going with the Razorbacks. Florida is hosting Missouri, laying an 11.5. Florida's crushing it on offense and blowing it on defense. Missouri's defense really isn't that great either, giving up 30 a game. Florida hasn't played since October 10th, where they lost to Texas A&M. Yeah, Florida's defense really hasn't been that great, but Missouri doesn't really have an explosive offense. And after getting beat when they were a top-ranked team and coming off this much rest, they're definitely going to be fired up. I think their offense in Pitts is an absolute stud. It's a lot of points, but I'm going to go ahead and lay it with Florida. The Ohio State Buckeyes are playing at Penn State. They're only laying 12 points. Wait, this game is under a 3-touchdown spread? Yeah, I know it's cute when Penn State does their whiteout every year and has every hillbilly in the middle of Pennsylvania coming out to cause a ruckus during the games. But guess what? COVID's happening this season. You don't have the home field advantage like you used to, and Ohio State is absolutely going to wallop you. Let's go, Bucks. All right, so here's what I'm going to be looking at for the weekend. I already took Notre Dame. I already took Florida. And I already took Ohio State. I'm going to wait till game time to see if I take the Razorbacks in Memphis. Again, I'm doing absolutely terrible on the year, so if you want to fade me, no offense taken. I just want to make sure that you can pay rent this week. All right, that's it for the college football lines that I like so far. Let's take a look what else is going on in the betting world. So I completely missed these other boxing matches that have been up here for a while. Floyd Mayweather might fight Logan Paul, the YouTube dude, and he's a huge favorite. But the thing that blows my mind here is Jake Paul is actually a favorite over Nate Robinson. I cannot understand this. I mean, I've seen the videos of Jake Paul like working out. It looks like he can hit hard or whatever, but He's going against a professional athlete. I mean, it's a different level. The only thing I could think of is maybe Jake Paul's a little bit bigger than Nate Robinson. I mean, Nate Robinson is a pretty small dude, but if this fight actually goes down, I think I might put some money on Nate Robinson. As far as the 2020 election, it looks like the Democratic Party still has a slight edge with Biden over Trump. Again, not that big of an edge. Probably could still go either way. Biden has moved up 2 more percentage points on 538's forecast after the recent debate. I'm not going to lie. I watched about half of the first discussion topic in the debate and I turned it off. I cannot stand these politicians talking to people like they're 2-year-olds, being very vague and just catty with each other. The first debate was pretty entertaining because they were going for each other's throat, and that was pretty funny. But this second one, I just couldn't listen to it anymore. Again, I have a bet on Biden that I made back in 2018 that pays out 18-1. So if Biden wins, I win some money. That's cool. But in terms of how I personally feel about the election, I don't care who wins. Just get it over with. All right, y'all, that's it for Throwdown Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. If you agree with my picks, let me know down in the comments. If you think I'm an idiot, which after last weekend I probably am, definitely let me know about that too. Otherwise, may the gambling gods bless you this weekend, and good luck to all your picks. Have a good one, y'all.